Let me tell you something right out of the gate. Everything you've been told about eat your vegetables or you'll die is backwards, completely backwards. And I know that makes people uncomfortable. Good, because the science is clear and comfort has never cured disease. Plants are toxic. Meat is the optimal human diet. And I've seen it with my own eyes in real people, in real bodies over and over again. Here's the hook, and you can take it or leave it. If you're eating plants every day, the very foods you've been told are healthy, they are slowly breaking you down. Not overnight, not dramatically, slowly, quietly, through inflammation, through immune activation, through mitochondrial dysfunction. And the antidote isn't another supplement, another green powder, or another plant-based miracle. The antidote is meat, real meat, animal-based nutrition, the diet we evolved on. Now let's talk biology, because this isn't ideology, this is physiology. Plants don't want to be eaten. That's not controversial. That's basic evolutionary biology. Plants can't run. They can't fight. So what do? They produce chemical defenses. Oxalates, lectins, phytates, tannins, salicylates, goitrogens. These are not nutrients. These are toxins. The science is clear. These compounds exist to damage the organism that eats them, especially the gut. And people say, oh, but humans have adapted. No, we have tolerance mechanisms, not immunity. There's a huge difference. Just because you can survive something doesn't mean it's good for you. You can survive smoking for decades. That doesn't make it health promoting. Let's talk about the gut, because that's where everything starts. Your gut lining is one cell thick, one cell, and it is the gatekeeper between the outside world and your bloodstream. When you consume plant toxins, especially chronically, that gut barrier gets irritated, it gets inflamed, tight junctions loosen, you get increased intestinal permeability. People like to call it leaky gut, but that's just a lay term for a very real, very well-documented phenomenon. When that barrier breaks down, partially digested food particles and bacterial endotoxins like LPs get into the bloodstream. And what happens next? Your immune system goes on high alert, chronic activation, low-grade inflammation. And suddenly you're wondering why you're tired all the time, why your joints hurt, why your skin is breaking out, why you have brain fog, anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease. This is not random. This is cause and effect. I've seen patients with rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, psoriasis, eczema, migraines, bipolar disorder, obesity, type 2 diabetes. And guess what happens when you remove the plant toxins and feed them meat? The inflammation drops, the immune system calms down, symptoms improve or disappear entirely. I've seen it in my patients. Not once, not twice, over and over again. People ask, but where do you get fiber? Let me tell you something. Fiber is not an essential nutrient. There is no deficiency disease for lack of fiber. None. Zero. You will not find one in any medical textbook. What fiber does is irritate the gut and feed bacteria. Sometimes that's helpful in a damaged system. Sometimes it's gasoline on a fire. And for a lot of people, especially those with autoimmune or metabolic disease, it's the latter. Now let's talk mitochondria, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Your mitochondria are the engines of your cells. They produce ATP, the energy currency of life. When mitochondria are healthy, you feel good. You think clearly. You have stable energy. When they're damaged, everything falls apart. Plant toxins increase oxidative stress. They interfere with electron transport. They damage mitochondrial membranes. Meanwhile, meat provides highly bioavailable nutrients that directly support mitochondrial function. Heme iron, zinc, selenium, B vitamins, creatine, carnitine, CoQ10. These are not optional. These are required for human physiology. And you don't get them in adequate forms from plants. You just don't. This is why people on plant-heavy diets are tired all the time. They're cold. They lose muscle. Their hormones crash, especially women, especially over time. Now people love to say, but what about the studies? Okay, let's talk about studies. Epidemiology is not causation. Food frequency questionnaires are garbage. Asking people what they ate 6 months ago and then drawing conclusions about disease is not science. It's guesswork. When you look at interventional studies, when you look at elimination diets, when you look at autoimmune protocols, what's the common thread? Removing plant foods improves outcomes. Removing grains improves outcomes. Removing legumes improves outcomes. Removing vegetables improves outcomes. And when you isolate the diet down to animal foods only, the results are often dramatic. Why? Because meat is species-appropriate nutrition for humans. We evolved as apex predators. Our digestive system, our stomach acid, our short colon, our bile production, our brain size, all point in one direction. We are not herbivores. We are not even true omnivores in the way people think. We are hypercarnivores that can tolerate some plant matter in times of scarcity. That's it. Look at the Inuit. Look at the Maasai. Look at traditional cultures that thrived on animal-based diets. No diabetes, no heart disease, no obesity, no autoimmune disease. And then the plants and processed foods come in and everything collapses. Let's address the cholesterol myth because people will bring it up. Dietary cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Saturated fat does not clog your arteries. That hypothesis has been debunked repeatedly. Inflammation, insulin resistance, and oxidative damage are the drivers of cardiovascular disease. And guess what fuels those processes? Plant oils, sugar, refined carbohydrates, chronic exposure to anti-nutrients. Meat does not cause inflammation. Meat reduces inflammation. I've watched CRP levels drop. I've watched triglycerides plummet. I've watched HDL rise. I've watched people reverse metabolic syndrome eating ribeye steaks. And people say, cancer. Let me tell you something. Cancer cells thrive on glucose. They thrive in inflammatory environments. They thrive when the immune system is compromised. A ketogenic carnivore diet lowers insulin, lowers glucose, reduces inflammation, and starves cancer cells of their preferred fuel. That's not controversial. That's basic biochemistry. Now, are plants killing you instantly? No. That's not how toxins usually work. They work cumulatively, slowly, daily exposure. And some people are more sensitive than others. Genetics matter. Gut health matters. Autoimmune predisposition matters. But if you're struggling with chronic illness, the idea that plants are harmless is something you need to seriously reevaluate. I had a patient who had severe eczema from head to toe. Steroids didn't work. Biologics didn't work. Eliminated plants. Went full carnivore. Within weeks, the skin started healing. Within months, it was gone. Another patient with debilitating joint pain, told they'd need surgery. Carnivore diet. Pain gone. Surgery canceled. This isn't magic. This is removing the insult and providing the correct fuel. And here's the part people don't like to hear. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's good for you. Cyanide is natural. Ricin is natural. Oxalates are natural. Plants are chemical factories. And when you eat them, you're engaging in chemical warfare at a low level every single day. Meat, on the other hand, doesn't need defending. It doesn't need processing. It doesn't need fortification. It doesn't need supplements to make it complete. Meat is complete. It contains everything you need to survive and thrive. Now, am I saying everyone needs to eat exactly the same? No. But I am saying that if you're sick, if you're inflamed, if you're tired, if you're broken, the idea that more plants will fix you is absurd. The science is clear. The clinical outcomes are clear. The biology is clear. So here's my call to action. If you're struggling, try it. Give it 30 days. Remove the plants. Eat meat, salt, water, beef, lamb, eggs, maybe some fish. That's it. Let your gut heal. Let your immune system calm down. Let your mitochondria recover. And don't take my word for it. Watch your labs. Watch your symptoms. Watch how you feel. If this resonates, if you want more of the science, more of the clinical experience, more of the truth that nobody wants to say out loud, subscribe. Share this with someone who's sick and desperate for answers. Because meat isn't the problem. Meat is the solution. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And let me tell you something else, because this is where people really start squirming. The reason this information gets attacked so aggressively is not because it's wrong, it's because it works. If it didn't work, no one would care. No one would be threatened. But when people reverse disease without drugs, without lifelong prescriptions, without managing symptoms, that threatens an entire system built on chronic illness. I've worked in hospitals, I've trained in surgery, I've seen end-stage disease up close, and nowhere in medical school did anyone ever say, hey, maybe the food is the problem. We were taught how to cut, prescribe, suppress, not how to remove the cause. And plants, for a massive number of people, are the cause. People love to say, well, I eat vegetables and I feel fine. Okay, right now, maybe. But feeling fine is not the same as being healthy. You can have insulin resistance for years before diabetes shows up. You can have arterial inflammation decades before a heart attack. You can have autoimmune antibodies years before symptoms explode. Damage accumulates quietly. And let's talk about autoimmune disease specifically, because this is where carnivore shines brightest. Autoimmune disease is not your immune system randomly attacking itself. That's a lazy explanation. The immune system is reacting to something it perceives as a threat. Molecular mimicry, leaky gut, chronic antigen exposure. That's what's happening. Plant proteins cross a damaged gut barrier, enter circulation, and the immune system responds. Some of those proteins resemble human tissue, joints, skin, thyroid, brain. And now you've got an immune system that's confused and overactivated. Remove the trigger and suddenly the immune system calms down. Shocking, right? Except it's not shocking at all. It's exactly what we'd expect based on immunology. Now let's talk about mental health, because this part is criminally ignored. Depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. These are not just chemical imbalances. They're metabolic conditions. The brain is the most energy-demanding organ in the body. It needs stable fuel. It needs cholesterol. It needs saturated fat. It needs micronutrients that only exist in animal foods. When people remove plants, remove sugar, remove seed oils, and eat meat, their mood stabilizes. Their anxiety drops. Their cognition improves. I've seen people come off psychiatric medications under medical supervision because their symptoms resolved. That should terrify and excite you at the same time. And no, this is not placebo. Placebo doesn't normalize inflammatory markers. Placebo doesn't heal ulcerative colitis. Placebo doesn't regrow hair, fix fertility, or restore libido. These are physiological changes driven by metabolic repair. Let's talk hormones. Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, thyroid hormones. All of these are built from cholesterol or dependent on proper energy signaling. When you're under-eating, over-fibered, inflamed, and nutrient deficient, hormones suffer. That's why so many people on plan T-heavy diets lose their period, lose muscle, lose sex drive, and are told it's normal or stress. No, it's starvation signaling. Meat sends the opposite signal. Safety, abundance, repair, reproduction. Now people will say, but what about longevity? Let me tell you something. Longevity without quality is meaningless. Living to 90 with dementia, arthritis, diabetes, and heart disease is not success. Traditional populations eating animal-based diets lived long lives free of chronic disease. They didn't rot slowly for decades. They lived well and died quickly. And this idea that plants contain magical antioxidants you can't live without is nonsense. Your body makes its own antioxidants. Glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase. These systems work best when inflammation is low and mitochondria are healthy. You don't fix oxidative stress by eating stressed plants. You fix it by removing the source of damage. Seed oils deserve a special mention here because they're technically plant foods, but they're in a category of their own. Linoleic acid, industrial lubricants masquerading as food. They incorporate into your cell membranes and make them fragile. They oxidize easily. They drive inflammation. And they've only been in the human diet for about 100 years. Coincidence that chronic disease exploded right after? No. When people go carnivore, seed oils are gone by default. And guess what happens? Joint pain improves, skin improves, sun tolerance improves, metabolic health improves. Again, not magic, biology. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not about hating plants. This is about recognizing reality. Plants are not required for human health. Meat is. You cannot survive long-term without animal foods. You can survive without plants indefinitely. That alone should tell you something. And if you're thinking, well, why haven't I heard this before? Because nutrition science is corrupted. It's funded by food companies. It's driven by ideology. And it refuses to ask the most important question, what happens when you remove the thing entirely? Carnivore is the ultimate elimination diet. It strips away variables. It reveals what your body actually needs and what it's reacting to. And for many people, it's the first time in their lives they feel truly human again. Clear mind, stable energy, no cravings, no bloating, no pain, no constant hunger. That's not normal life for most people anymore, but it should be. So if you're listening to this and you're angry, good. If you're defensive, good. That means something inside you recognizes this might matter. And if you're curious, that's even better. Try it, not forever, not as a belief system. as an experiment. 30 days, document everything. Symptoms, mood, sleep, labs if you can, and then decide, because once you feel what it's like to remove the noise, remove the toxins, and fuel your body the way it evolved to be fueled, you'll understand why I'm so passionate about this. Meat is not the enemy. Meat is medicine. And so here's the conclusion, and I want you to really hear this, because this is the part that actually matters. At the end of the day, your body does not care about ideology. It does not care about food pyramids, Instagram influencers, documentaries, or what you wish were true. Your body only responds to inputs: fuel in, signal out, damage in, inflammation out, healing in, repair out. That's it. There is no morality in biology. And when you look honestly at the evidence, when you strip away the noise, the marketing, the politics, the dogma, one thing becomes painfully obvious. The modern human diet is breaking people, slowly, systematically. And plants play a much bigger role in that than anyone wants to admit. We've normalized suffering. Chronic pain is normal. Brain fog is normal. Fatigue is normal. Autoimmune disease is normal. Anxiety is normal. Depression is normal. Needing 5 medications by age 50 is normal. That's not normal. That's mass metabolic failure. And it didn't happen because humans suddenly became genetically weak. It happened because we changed what we put in our mouths. Let me tell you something. If a food causes inflammation, if it damages the gut, if it activates the immune system, if it interferes with mitochondrial energy production, it is not food for that species, period. And plants, for a huge percentage of humans, do exactly that. Not because they're evil, not because nature is cruel, but because plants evolved to defend themselves. And you're not supposed to eat defensive chemicals as the foundation of your diet. Meat doesn't need justification. It doesn't need to be engineered. It doesn't need to be balanced by toxins. It's what built the human brain. It's what allowed us to grow big, strong, resilient bodies. It's what supported reproduction, cognition, endurance, and survival in the harshest environments on Earth. That's not opinion. That's anthropology. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people will never try carnivore because it challenges their identity. It challenges what they've been praised for. It challenges the idea that suffering through healthy eating is virtuous. But health isn't about virtue, it's about function. If you're eating what you've been told is healthy and you still sick, still inflamed, still exhausted, still broken, the problem isn't you, the problem is the advice. And doubling down on bad advice doesn't fix anything. I've watched people get their lives back. Not hypothetically, not in theory, in reality. Parents who can play with their kids again. People who wake up without pain for the first time in decades. People who stop thinking ABO, CET food all day because their body is finally nourished. That doesn't happen when you're eating against your biology. This isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. When you align your diet with your physiology, your body does what it's designed to do. Heal, regulate, repair, thrive. And if you take nothing else from this, take this one principle. Remove the things that hurt you. Add the things that nourish you. Everything else is noise. You don't need plants to be healthy. You don't need fiber to survive. You don't need variety to thrive. You need adequate protein, adequate fat, adequate micronutrients, stable energy, low inflammation. And you get that from animal foods. So don't argue with me. Don't defend your salad. Don't get emotional about broccoli. Run the experiment. Let your body be the judge, because your body will always tell the truth, even when culture lies. And when you feel the difference, when the inflammation drops, when the brain fog lifts, when the pain fades, when the energy returns, you'll realize this was never extreme. It was just honest. Meat is not dangerous. Meat is not outdated. Meat is not optional. Meat is the antidote. And if you want more of this, more deep dives, more patient stories, more unapologetic truth, subscribe, share this, start questioning dogma. Your health depends on it.